Hey YouTube, this is Bharat from ReadyReady's LLC. Today we are going to learn how to use Netboot ISO to install any operating system of our choice. Link to the ISO will be provided in the description below. So Netboot is like a universal boot manager. It allows you to set up from an image on your local HDD or boot from network using Pixie. Now, for those who don't know what Pixie is, it's also known as a pre-execution network environment. You can read more about it in Google. Um, the specifics for this particular tutorial is just to show you how to set up Ubuntu 20.04 through Netboot on a new dedicated server that we are preparing for a client. So let's get started with this. So the main uses of using Netboot is when you're not able to um, let's say, mount a huge ISO up front and would like to use the network of the server to, download all the required resources. This can be when your network connection is too poor to facilitate the availability of the ISO to the server, or if you're too far away from the server, let's say the server is in US and you're in India, just like in my case. So for starters, I've already booted the Netboot ISO via the BIOS. And if you see, it's asking me to choose my default network interface. As you can see, there is this link up mentioned for net 0. So I'm assuming that will be my primary interface. So I'm giving it 0. The IP. Now I do have the server under VLAN, so I'm sure you guys are aware how VLAN works. You can share IPs across multiple servers that are sitting in the same VLAN. So I'm just going to assign an IP from the list of IPs that I have. Just let me have a look as to what I have in availability. Second. Yep. So 1 9. So the next thing it's going to ask you is for a subnet mask. So this will be you can actually get it from your subnet details that your data center might provide you, or your provider might give it to you. For DNS, we always choose Google DNS, and that's it. It starts downloading the menu for Netboot, and this is what we have. So you have many choices here. Let's go with Linux network installs. You can even do Windows if you wish to. And I'm here looking for Ubuntu, but as you can see, there are multiple distributions available here. So let me go for Ubuntu, and I'll choose the legacy. So the subiquity, subiquity, or whatever you might want to call it, is more like a desktop version of the server. So I'll go with the legacy, install, and now it will download everything that is required for the installation to proceed, all relying on the server's network. And the best part of Netboot is it's only 2.3 MB in size. So it's a very light ISO. As you can see, we are already on the installation screen. Select English, United States, auto detect the keyboard layout, and it would be English US, US. Now I'm choosing the first interface. I hit cancel because there is no DHCP setup. I would like to configure my network manually. I'm also giving the CIDR here itself so that it can directly take us to the gateway IP. As you can see, it has already automatically taken the gateway as .1. That's because this is a /24 subnet. Now name server, again, we are going to go with Google. The host name, you can set this to anything. I just set it to Ubuntu. This is just the RDNS. Okay, United States, the US archive, no proxy, and that's it. So we'll now be asked for the disk configurations. I mean the partitioning and the stuff. So let's wait. Okay, so oh yeah, I forgot about this. It will also ask you for a default user. So let's see, we'll go with Ubuntu. Username for your account Ubuntu. I'll just give a password. It's better to disable password-based authentication once you're in. This is an AMD EPYC server with like 4 7.68 TB NVMe's and two 250 GB SSDs for the operating system. We'll be running Postgres on this, so I'm just going to configure a RAID-1 for the OS and leave the others unpartitioned as requested by the client. So let's go with SDA first. Enter. Create an empty partition table. Do the same for the second disk. Yeah, that's done. Now within the free space, we create a new partition. We'll first go with the reserving the BIOS boot area with 1 MB. Beginning. We'll use this as BIOS boot area. Done setting up the partition. Now we create the next partition to be around 512 MB or something, or 1G. This is for EFS. Usually you don't need to give this much space for the EFI system partition, but you know, just so that I can. The next partition is going to be a physical partition for the RAID, where we'll hold our boot, grub, and everything. We'll be configuring it as a physical volume for RAID. And done. And then we'll make 2 more partitions as requested by the client. He wants to store logs on a different partition so that eventually if logs fill up, it doesn't kill the server. So 50G, beginning, physical volume for RAID, done. And then the rest will go for the OS file system. Okay, so now if you see, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm not making a swap partition because it's not needed in this case. If needed, we can always go into the operating system, create a file using DD and make a swap out of it. I'll show that as a bonus for this tutorial, that is. So let's now replicate the same number of partitions in the same sequence on the second disk. The first one being the 1 MB partition for the BIOS grub. The second one being the EFI partition. The reason we are doing BIOS boot area and EFI system partition on both the disks is so that it can boot from both the disks in an event where one of the disks fails. Next one is for the boot area. Okay, next one is for the logs. And next one is for the OS. Now that we are done with all our volumes and partitioning, we'll configure software RAID-1. We'll write the changes to the partition, create an MD RAID device, RAID-1. Number of devices is 2, 0 spare devices. Now let's start with this one. Create. So you keep doing this for the boot grub partition, the OS partition, and the log partition. And now we are going for the OS partition. STA5, STA5. Now we are done creating our RAID devices. Now, as you can see, we have 1 gig, 50 gig, and 190 gig partitions available. The first one will go on boot as an ext4 / boot. Done. The second one will go on var as an ext4. And the third one and the final one will go on the file system, ext4 and non-point. Done. As you can see, we are all done with our RAID partitions. Let's finish writing the changes to the disk, and this will start the installation. So it will start with creating the ext4 partition, mount it on the places we mentioned, and then it will start pulling in all the packages from the network level from the same US archive of Ubuntu repository. This is going to take some time, so I'm just going to wait until this finishes. I'll pause this video just to ensure that this is a smaller version. Okay, so it comes to this option where it asks you if you want to manage the updates automatically using unattended upgrades, or you want to leave it as it is and do it manually. So you can always go for no automatic updates just to make sure your kernel is not messed up. Yeah, so I'll pause the video until this finishes, as it's going to take some time. In between, it's going to ask you if you want to set up any collection of software on this server. You can just go with OpenSSH server and nothing else, and just say continue. Next, it's going to ask you about this setting system clocks to UTC. You can go ahead with yes or no. That's totally up to you. I'm going with yes. Okay, so the installation is complete, and it's going to ask me to finish the installation. Um, so I'll just say continue. So now we'll just stop media and then just apply the Control Alt Delete. Okay, this should normally do a restart. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let's go with Ubuntu. There's a possibility in many Ubuntu machines where it might get stuck at this point, where it says everything is clean and all that. If you want to move forward from here, you can try Alt F2, and then it takes you to the login screen. I'm really not sure why it does that. If anyone watching this video knows about it, you can just comment. That would be great, but I haven't researched much about it. So let me log in, and there I'm in. Just checking the network. Okay, I need to become sudo. Okay, there it is. Apt page FY. Yeah, so network is perfect. DNS is perfect. Let's see. I want to allow root login first with the password so that I can just log in and then, or maybe not. I'll just permit root login and prohibit password. I'll enable public key authentication. I'll just enable the authorized keys file. I'll save it. And then I'll do a restart of SSHD. And that's it. I should now be able to SSH into the machine. Let's see. SSH Ubuntu 20.04. And also anyone else watching this video, if you think you're going to get into this IP and then try brute forcing your way through it, forget about it, because it's going to be logged by the IP tables, and also there's no password logging being enabled here. Okay, that's weird. There it is. Password. I'm going to make sure that user Ubuntu user can't log in. Okay, then I'm going to make sure an SSH directory in root. Sorry about that. Now I'll just have to paste a few SSH keys. I'm just pausing the video to paste the SSH public keys. Also, maybe I don't need to. Yeah, saved. And that's it. Now I'll exit here. Now if I try to log in as Ubuntu, even if I give a password, it should not let me in. Yep, it won't let me in. Now if I do the same via root, it will ask me for a key, and I'm in. That's it. So that's that. Any questions regarding this tutorial, or if you want me to set up any other OS using Netboot, you can comment and I'll try to make a video out of it. And have a great day, guys.